We maximize our health potential by aligning our lives more fully with God's natural design for spirit, mind, and body. We wouldn't turn the keys to our house over to somebody, a perfect stranger, right? We'd want to know something about that person. So why would we turn our lives over to God if we don't know him first, right? And when we do, we'll realize and discover that he is trustworthy and he is loving and kind and generous and all of that. Much easier to surrender or align our lives more fully with God's design when we know him better.
Most of us have no problem at all trusting God for our eternity. What we have a problem with is trusting him for our next 15 minutes. How much do I trust you with my finances? How much do I trust you with my health? How much do I trust you with my moves? How much do I trust you with my relationships?
Welcome to the Christian Healthy Lifestyle Podcast, where I help Christians over 40 age gracefully, live abundantly, and be thoroughly equipped for every good work. I'm your host, David Sandstrom, naturopathic doctor and biblical health coach, and this is episode number 153. Hey, Dave Sandstrom here. I'm starting something new and I need your help. I'm going to be doing lifestyle audit episodes. Would you like to be on the show with me? You tell me what your pain point is, and I'll offer my advice. There's no charge. You'll be helping me create some great content for the show. When you're done listening to this episode, go to christianhealthylifestyle.com/audit, answer a few questions, and you'll be good to go. I look forward to hearing from you. Today we have on the show Marnie Swedberg. Marnie is an international leader mentor, the author of 14 books, the host of her own radio talk show, a media expert, and a keynote speaker for organizations around the world. She's here today to talk about her latest book, Flow Through Vessel. Marnie, welcome to Christian Healthy Lifestyle.
Hey, thanks. Great to be here.
Yeah, I really am looking forward to this conversation because we have so much overlap in what we believe and what we like to share with people. If you're new to the show, here at Christian Healthy Lifestyle, we maximize our health potential by aligning our lives more fully with God's natural design for spirit, mind, and body. And I know that Marnie is very much aligned with that message. And in order to do that, we have to walk with God, right? We have to be willing to trust him in all things in order to surrender to him, right? So could you talk a little bit about that and how that fits into your book?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a chart. It's, you can get anything for free over at marnie.com, the downloads of the book or the chart or whatever. But, there's a chart in there about trust levels with God, because I always say it like this. Okay. You're invited to go on a roller coaster ride, right? And so you go, yeah, sure. That sounds interesting. That sounds fun, or whatever your response is. And so you get in, you get all harnessed up and buckled up, and then you go for this ride, and it's crazy, and it's upside down, and it's flying really fast and around curves, but you're okay because it's on the tracks and you're buckled in. Now, take that same invitation and say, okay, but there's no buckles and no harnesses on this one. Just hang on. You'll be fine. Or worse, this has never been tested. We're not sure if it's going to work. But it should be interesting, hop in and see how it goes. And to neither of those last two scenarios would any sane person say yes, right? So what we expect people to do with God is just believe him, and all the other authority figures you've had in your life who have let you down, who have abused you, whatever it is, don't worry about that. God's not like that at all. Okay. Yeah, so what happens is we bring these experiences we've had with human authority figures and with human phrases that we hear, like ultimate power corrupts ultimately. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. We bring those kind of subconscious things into our relationship with God. Then we wonder why we trust the, refrigerator repairman more than we trust God. It's like, there are reasons here. So I love to start with that trust piece, that foundation piece. And like you say, we have to get to know him better in order to trust him more. And that's our number one, actually, privilege as well as responsibility in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the refrigerator repairman metaphor because, we wouldn't turn the keys to our house over to somebody, a perfect stranger, right? We'd want to know something about that person. So why would we turn our lives over to God if we don't know him
Yeah.
first, right? We need to
Yeah. We don't trust
enter
him.
into that personal relationship with him. And when we do, we'll learn more about him. And when we do, we'll realize and discover that he is trustworthy and he is loving
Yeah.
and kind and generous and all of that. So yeah, much easier to surrender or align our lives more fully with God's design when we know him better. Do you address that in your book?
Yeah, there's a whole section on trust issues with God because we all have them.
Okay.
And there's
Yeah.
actually a test you can take. You can take it today. And what's really funny is most Christians that I work with, and a Christian is almost not a word we can use anymore today, but I'm just going to say it like this: Christ in you people. Most of those people that have accepted Christ to come live inside of us, most of us have no problem at all trusting God for our eternity. What we have a problem with is trusting him for our next 15 minutes or for our next big challenge that we have. We think he's got the eternity thing down, which is harder, right? My eternity or my next 15 minutes. So it's crazy talk.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when we take this test and we analyze, how much do I trust you with my finances? How much do I trust you with my health? How much do I trust you with my moves? How much do I trust you with my relationships? And we take this test and then we say, now, during the next 6 months, I'm going to really focus on getting to know God better, who he says he is. I'm going to really test it out in my life, ask him to show himself to me. Now take that test again 6 months later, and you're going to have different levels of trust there. And you're going to be able to see that God has not changed, but how you perceive him has changed. And that changes everything for you.
Yeah, that's really good. I know that you talk about in your YouTube channel about a dolphin being an air breather but living in the water. And I
Yeah.
love that metaphor. Would you share that with the audience right now? I think it's really great.
Yes. So that verse, 1 Thessalonians 5:17, pray without ceasing, that verse made me crazy for decades. I was like, why do you tell us to do something that's impossible? Because we simply cannot always be consciously in the presence of God with him in our conscious awareness. He's always with us. But consciously, I have to address my brain to, I was just yesterday, doing the checkbooks, what he calls it, reconciling checkbooks. Oh, that's really, the focus on to make sure, where did that money go? How come that's missing? So what happened was I would just get so frustrated. Why do you ask us to pray without ceasing when it's impossible to both live on planet Earth and be in constant conscious awareness of you in prayer? And so I kept asking him this because I was really wanting to, and I was really trying to, and I couldn't do it. And yet I know that whatever he calls us to do is possible. So I kept going back, show me the way, show me the way. So he showed me the dolphin analogy, which I just love. A dolphin is a water dweller, but an air breather. It lives and works under the water all the time, eating under there, doing all of its, everything under the water. But it has to come up for air every 3 to 5 minutes. So is it always above the surface? No.
No.
But is it constantly coming up for air? Yes.
Yes.
So it is constantly breathing, even though it's not constantly above the water. Okay. It's always within reach of the water. It's always knowing I have to go up every few minutes. This is how I'm built. This is how I function. Now we are earth dwellers, but prayer breathers. So we are built to live and do our work and make our impact in the world here on earth, but we are actually prayer breathers. So Ephesians 2:6 says, in the present tense, it says we are seated in the heavenlies with Christ right now. How in the world is it possible for me to be on earth and yet seated in the heavenlies with Christ? But that's what that verse says. So I think what happens is that we are earth dwellers, but we're prayer breathers. And when we pray, when we bring God into our conscious awareness, we actually get to be seated with him in our souls, in our spirits. We get to be seated with him in the heavenlies, where we always are seated, but we don't always experience it because we are earth dwellers. So it's a little maybe complex, but I love the dolphin analogy. We are earth dwellers, prayer breathers. You want to be so ready to go up for prayer anytime that no matter what situation you're in, that fast, I'm in the conscious awareness, the presence of God.
I love it. It's such a good metaphor. The first couple times I use it, I'm going to credit you, but after that, I'm just going to use it. Is that all right?
There you go. Just go for it.
It's really good. Yeah, that connection with God, and then we get grounded, right? We get
Mhm.
more, we enjoy more peace that transcends all understanding, as the word says. And we all know that peace is health promoting. Our bodies
Yeah,
prefer
for
to
sure.
do their detoxification and rebuilding and hormone rebalancing and all that when we are at rest. Right, a lot of it goes on when we're sleeping, but we want to experience that as much as we can throughout the day. We can press into stress, but then we have to back out of it. We weren't designed to stay in that stress response, right? We want to press in. We might have a deadline at work or whatever it is. Something's going on with the kids at that moment. You're playing taxi mom and you're driving kids all over the place for sports and you name it. Life gets stressful. That's okay, but we have to make time to get grounded again and
Yeah.
reconnect with the source, right? To plug back in and get our batteries recharged. I think that's kind of what you're saying, and I really enjoy the reminder once in a while. It's good.
I think that it's actually how we're built. We're built to actually live in peace with God, okay? And so then when in the mornings when I just suit up real quick in the spiritual armor and putting on my day clothes for life, and then I'm suiting up real quick, I put up my shield of faith and put on my helmet of salvation, breastplate of righteousness, tie on the belt of truth, tie my shoes of peace, and grab my sword, and I'm out the door. That's kind of how I flow in the spirit in the morning while I'm also getting physically dressed. And I think about those shoes of peace. So the shoes of the gospel of preparation of peace. And I think about when I hit stress in my day. It's Colossians 3:15. Let the Holy Spirit be the umpire. Let the peace of the Holy Spirit be the umpire in your life, deciding with finality what's going on here. And so when I feel my shoelaces coming untied, my spiritual peace shoelaces coming untied, that's when I know it's time to go up for a prayer. That's when I have to go up for air. And it's like in this moment, I can choose to push through that stress and own it and massage it and feed it and all of those things. Or I can choose to invite spirit into that thought process right there. And what's happened for me, David, is over a period of years, my little mini vac just started up, so he might be coming in to visit me. Over a period of years, what's happened is I've gotten faster and faster at making that flip from staying under, submerged under, and feeling the pressure of when a dolphin doesn't come up for air, what happens pretty soon? It can't breathe anymore. It's going to die. The stress gets too great. And that's what happens
Right.
for us too, is that when we don't go up for air, when we just try to manage all the stress that we're experiencing, we experience that more and more. And it's a problem.
So, Marty, I want to go back to something you just mentioned was the armor, and the armor
Yeah.
talks about warfare, right? So we're in a battle. We're in a battle, in a great struggle between good and evil every day of our lives. And I think that one of the things the enemy often uses against us is our sense of identity. He wants to attack who
Mm.
we are. When he came after Christ after his 40 days in the wilderness preparing for his ministry, he started off every attack with, if you are the son of God. So he
Right.
attacked
Right.
Christ's identity. And he wants to do the same with us. He wants us to get distracted and not remember our true identity. And I know that you
Yeah.
have some verses that you've put together. And could you just share a couple of the truths about who we really are in Christ?
Wow, it's such a huge topic. So what I did is I put together an A to Z. You can find it on my YouTube channel for free. It's an A to Z, who I am in Christ and who God is. So it starts with the names of God, which I've collected well over 200 names and character qualities of God. And then also who I am in Christ. And I put them into an Excel document, turn them into A to Z thing, and then I listen to it a lot before I go to bed. It's several. I think I don't remember if it's 9 minutes or 18 minutes or something like that. It's quite long, but it
Uh,
goes into all of these. So to try to just say who we are in Christ here in a second is hard, but basically the key is, who does He say He is, and who does He say I am? Because the world is telling us all kinds of lies about this, about who God is and about who you are. You're hearing things from people. Well, you're just a loser, or you're not very good at that. And you're hearing things in your own head from yourself about that
Right.
also. So you really want to focus in on who God says he is and who God says you are. So I always say it this way: when he strung together your 3 billion base pairs of DNA, he did it in a particular way. And he loves you just the way you are, even if nobody else can see it, even if you can't see it. God is madly in love with who you are, who he created you to be. And so the joy of life comes in discovering how he put us together. I'm so different from you, David. We're different from any other listener. Um,
Hmm.
how he put us together is the gift that he gave to us and the gift that he wants us to give back to him. This is our greatest gift to give him, our whole real selves. And I totally agree with you. There is a direct assault on your identity going on right now. The enemy does not want you to know who you are. And it's all
Hmm.
lies. You know, when you're talking about spiritual warfare, the battle was won. Jesus on the cross, the battle is over. What we're doing now is we're standing firm with that armor up, defending against the lies and the schemes and the plans and the plots that are coming against us to take what Jesus did for us already. So it's our responsibility not to win a battle, it's already been won, but to stand firm in the freedom that Jesus bought for us on the cross.
Hmm. Yeah, I love it. You know, I'm going to borrow from John Eldridge with the Ransom Heart Contrast podcast. I'm sure you've heard of him, but
Yeah,
he
love
talks
John
about in
Eldridge.
his book Wild at Heart. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
familiar with his work.
yeah, very much.
In his book Wild at Heart, he talks about the varying degrees of identity that we see, the
Yeah.
metaphors in the Bible about Christ and the church. At the lowest level, we're the clay and he's the potter, right? Nothing too flattering about being a lump of clay, right?
Yeah.
But in the potter's hands, maybe we are something. But then elevate one step up from that, and we are the servants. He is the master. And honestly, I believe most Christians are stuck at that level. We're
Mm.
to be doing things from duty because we're supposed to, right? Not because we get to. But we're the servants,
Mm.
and that's it's better than being a lump of clay. But we're really not quite there yet, you know. And then he says that we are his children. We're sons and daughters of the Most High. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we have a place to belong. We have a home. We have an inheritance.
I love
And then
it.
he goes even further and he says that you are my friends.
Yeah.
Friends know things about your parents that the children don't even know. There's a little bit more, a level of intimacy there. And then the highest level is he's our lover,
Yeah.
right? We are to
Mm.
experience his love and enter into that love relationship, which is an amazing thought that I am the lover of the God of the universe. It's just a pretty amazing idea, and it's easy to it's a slippery slope to say no. I'm not that. I messed up really bad yesterday. I don't feel it, so therefore it's not true.
Yeah.
But it is true, even if we're not feeling it.
Absolutely. My favorite book by John Eldridge, I love Sacred Romance too, but is Beautiful
Mm.
Outlaw. I just love that
Yeah.
book. It's just, oh, I actually read it like poetry. That's how it feels to
Is that
my heart.
right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just such a beautiful perspective of who Jesus is. And
Hmm.
for years, David, I would sign letters, documents I would sign in his service, Marnie, in his
Nice.
service,
I
the
do that
servant,
too once in a
right?
while. Yeah.
And then there came a change. And after the change, I would sign it in his loving arms, Marnie.
Mm.
And just a few months ago, I adopted another name. I'm not sure if he assigned it to me or if I just assigned it to me, but I adopted another name for myself that he has called me or assigned to me. And now I call myself the infatuated bride of Christ. And I love that one because I don't have to apologize for how absolutely ridiculously in love I am with God. I just get to
Hmm.
be full. When we're infatuated with new love, I've been married to the same guy for 40 years. And so, when early days when we were infatuated in love, you just can't stop thinking about him, and you just have to figure out what's in his head and what's he thinking about, what's he doing, what's he going to do next, and how's this going to work, and you have all these thoughts about it. And that's how I am with God. I'm just constantly wondering, what do you think about that, and what do you think I should do here, and when are you going to talk to me again, and all these thoughts, like that. And I just love that we get to move in that progression, and that progression comes from circling back to where we started here. That progression comes from a trust factor. You don't actually fall madly in love with somebody you think is going to really hurt you, really, break your heart. You don't. You can't let yourself be that open and free. But as you come into this more deeper awareness, and I think that's what faith really is. Jesus doesn't use faith quantitatively so much. He says like just a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. He's not so much quantitative about it, yet we move from faith to faith. So how does that work? I believe it works by how we see God, as we see him more fully as he truly is, compared to what we thought he was, what people have told us he was, what we even believed ourselves based on our experiences. As we come into the deeper awareness of who he truly is, how good he truly is, the love can't help but grow. It just grows. Right. So does the faith. So does the peace. Right. So all of that is so intertwined in all of it.
Yeah. What you're talking about doesn't really come when you're new to the faith, does it? This is a level of maturity that you have to reach, right?
You have that first love. You have that first love when you know that God can do no wrong, and you really believe that. Mm-hmm. And then the enemy comes in with lies, and even, I'm afraid, other God believers, even other Jesus lovers, come in with lies that strip that down. Oh, you'll get over that. It's so fun to see a new Christian because they're just so deluded, but they're not. They're actually seeing him as he truly is. It's life that deludes us.
Yeah.
It's lies that delude us. He really is as good as all that.
Yeah, for sure. I really like what the message is from the book. And, I wish we had time to read the whole thing before we did the interview. But I know that you talk a little bit about purpose. And I'm going to circle back to John Eldredge for a minute. I went to one of his Wild at Heart boot camps. And at the end of the weekend, we're talking about, who you really are created to be. We're not created to be just good little boys and girls and, altar boy Christianity, managing our sin. That's really not what Christianity is about. It's about that loving relationship with God. And John says to the group, there's probably 300 guys in the room. And he said at the end of the weekend, he said, don't go home and quit your job tomorrow. But in terms of what you want to do with this information and how you want to live the rest of your life, ask yourself this question. If you could do anything you wanted to do, failure is not an option and success was guaranteed. Money's not an object. What would you do? And I knew right away, I would write books and talk about it. And that's kind of what I'm doing here with this podcast. But a lot of guys were saying, I don't know what I would do. I have to give that some thought. I really don't know the answer to that. But it really talks to our purpose, why God put us here for a reason. Well, no, he didn't put us on this earth haphazardly. We're here for a reason. We're here for a time such as this. Can you speak to that a little bit about finding your purpose and walking in that?
Yeah, I love mission vision, and there's a whole free training over at Marnie.com on how to find your mission and vision, to identify that, to bring it to the surface. And it is so important that the first step actually of it all is to just identify the reality that God created you like you are, and to say, I'm not a mistake. I am not hateful to God. He is not looking at my sin, at my problems. He's looking at the beautiful gem that's in there. We went to an amethyst mine. Amethyst is a purple gemstone. And we went to an amethyst mine on a family vacation many, many years ago. And it was really interesting. The miner took us down a path, and then we saw this big wall of ugly, hideous rock. And he started the tour with these words: this rock wall is full of amethyst. David, I stood there and I looked at that rock wall. I could not see one bit of purple. I couldn't see anything sparkling. It was just hideous. It was ugly. And yet he, as the amethyst miner, knew that wall was full of amethyst. And that's how God is. He's not seeing you the way you see yourself. He's not even seeing you the way your worst enemy sees you. He's
Yeah.
seeing you as the creator of the amethyst that he knows is inside of you. And that's what he's
Mm.
focused on. It was just a hoot because the guy next he goes, this rock wall here, this is going to take us about 70 years to mine. 70 years, about the lifetime span, right? And then he says,
Mm.
it's going to take so long because we can't use jackhammers or anything like that. We have to use high powered water guns or we will damage the stone. Well, that's the water of the word. And it was so important to me,
Mm.
not only what he said, but what he didn't say. He didn't say, I hate it that stupid amethyst got itself locked into that rock wall.
Mm.
No, it was part of the deal. God knew what he
Right.
was when he was getting you. You know, I mean, he's not surprised at all. And so
Right.
for us, our responsibility is to say, this life that I have is the gift I've been given from God and the gift he wants me to give him back. That's the whole deal. And when we say that, then we become willing to pursue our mission and vision from his perspective and to let him show us, why did he put us here? I have another analogy I like to use. You know, if you were a bicycle and you just won a race, you would think you were pretty hot stuff. But then you'd see a race car drive by and you're like, oh, I don't even have an engine. And then the race car, you know, wins the Indy 500 and feels like he's really cool. But then he sees a jet plane go across and he's like, man, I'm stuck to the ground. Then the jet plane flies over and thinks he's pretty high and mighty. And then he sees a rocket ship go out into outer space. And he's like, oh, I can't do that. And then the rocket ship's out in outer space. He sees a shooting star and he's like, man, I'm tethered to this engine thing, you know. Whatever you thought you wanted to do with your life, if it is not in line with how God created you, if he created you to be a race car, you will never enjoy being a bike or a rocket ship. It's
Mm-hmm.
us saying, I recognize that you made me a particular way. I want to discover what that way is and what you want me to do with my life. And the beautiful thing is that when you actually get in alignment with your true identity, not only are you so much more useful for God, you're having so much more fun because it's actually
Yes.
what you were created and designed to do. It flows perfectly with your design, because you've been trying to bike faster the whole time to become a race car, and you're never going to be a race car. Settle down, enjoy
Right.
the ride. You're a bike or
Yeah.
whatever you are. You know, I'm a jet plane.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I am. I'm a jet plane. I say I'm either flying far and fast or else I'm flat out on the tarmac recharging.
That's great. I love the vignettes that you use. I was actually an professional airline pilot for 35 years, so I can relate to that one.
That's fun. Yeah.
And then you fly your first jet, and then well, somebody else is flying the wide body. Someone else is flying
It can
international.
always be
You
that,
know,
right? That
yeah. There's
comparison
all the
game.
grass is always greener, right? But I'm,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of you watch these nature shows, and when you watch a penguin walking on the iceberg, it looks pretty
Right.
clumsy, right? They're cute little animals, but they're clumsy. But they're actually birds, but they're water birds. And when they jump off that block of ice into the water, and you get a camera underneath, and you watch those penguins swim, it's majestic. It's beautiful, and you can almost feel their joy. They're
Mm-hmm.
doing what they were designed to do, and that's swimming in that
Yeah.
cold water, and they love it. And I think that
It's
kind of
beautiful.
aligns with what you were just saying. When you
Yeah.
find your purpose and you find your calling, and you're
Yeah.
walking in that, you got a reason to get out of bed in the morning. It does something to you. It energizes you, and
Yeah.
not only you, but the people you come in contact with. And I know you talk about the body electric, so why don't we talk about that a little bit, and how we are all vibrating, and it's not just inside of us, it's flowing out of us, right?
Right. Yeah, so body electric, if I took a brick and stuck it up against a live wire, nothing would happen. But if we take you and stick you up against a live wire, we're in trouble because you are actually electric. You are vibrating. And so if you think all
Mhm.
the way back, everything that's alive is if it's dead, it is not vibrating. A brick is not vibrating. But if it's alive, it's literally got energy that's causing it to vibrate at a certain frequency. So I can go sit in my van, and if I turn on my radio, I can switch it from channel to channel. All of those channels are always there, but one of them will resonate with me this time when I get in my van. And whatever that one is, I tune into that one and I get to listen to that particular program or music or whatever it is. All the rest are all available to me, but one of them feels like me, feels like what I want to listen to, what I want to hear. And that's
Yeah.
how we are in every way. So if you take a pumpkin seed and put it in the ground, it is going to vibrate like a pumpkin, and it's going to build a pumpkin from that little seed. If you put a baby into a
Right.
woman, or into a seed into a woman, that is going to vibrate like a baby, like a human baby, and it's going to turn into one. So basically, we are vibrational, and we can deny that, and we can pretend that our 3 billion base pair of DNA aren't ours, that we just have somebody else's, and we try to vibrate like them. But the fact is that you are vibrating in a particular way. And the sooner you align your brain, your mind, with how that is in you, the more likely you are to enjoy the journey of producing what's supposed to come out. And we all know for a fact that when we plant a seed in the ground, maybe a corn kernel, we can water it, we can give it light, we can nurture it until it produces corn cobs, right? Or we can pull it out and it won't produce anything. Or we can not water it and it'll just be this little scrawny little thing. You know what I mean? It's like there are things we can do to nurture how God created us to be. But it all goes back to the basic question. Do you believe that God created you to be unique? Are you unique? And if you are, the sooner you accept that and embrace it, the more you are going to invest into discovering what that actually is, how that looks, and how that can apply to your life. And it will change things. It will radically change things for you. It'll change your
Yeah,
experience of
absolutely.
life completely.
For sure. Ephesians 2:10 says, "We are God's workmanship, created for good works that God prepared beforehand."
In
So
advance,
he's
right?
in advance, right? He knew we were coming. We didn't take him by surprise. Your birth might have been an accident to your parents, but it wasn't an accident to
Not
God.
to
He
him.
knew you were coming, and he couldn't wait because Bible says we are the apple of his eye.
Yeah,
Right. And when you start to wrap your mind around that, it changes things. It really
yeah.
does. And I wanted to just kind of circle back around here to the identity thing. Identity is also connected to self-worth. And I believe that most of us, I mean, we all do it. And that is, we'll say things to ourselves that we would never say to a good friend.
Oh,
You
right.
know, we mess something up. Oh, we burnt the cake. Oh, I'm such a loser. You
Yeah.
know, I'm such a bad cook. We would never say that to a friend. We would be far more respectful for that than that. But we do it to ourselves. Can you talk a little bit about self-worth?
Yeah. So our self-worth doesn't come from our self-worth. Our self-worth comes from God. It comes literally. You are the child of God. You are the creation of God. You are made in his image. And when you say to your self, you are such an idiot. Self, you're such a loser. Self, you are no good. You're saying to God, what you created is no good. You're saying to the
Mm,
creator that he messed up with you somehow. And so it goes back again to who is God and who am I? And I am his darling lover. I mean, I think I'm his infatuated bride. And if I was
mm,
going to, in fact, this happened to me. Someone was saying some terrible things about someone else that I knew. They were saying hateful things about someone else I knew. Am
mm.
I going to sit there and just listen to that? Or am I just going to say, hey, wait a
No,
second. I don't think you understand this person at all. That's not really who they are. Okay, when
right.
you're talking to yourself like that, God is listening to that. And you're offending him because he created you, and you're hurting yourself. So I totally agree. I think that one of the things I love is that good and evil are so clearly different from each other, and they are
Mm,
mostly experienced as emotions. So if you think of the fruit of the Spirit is love and joy. You're feeling these things: peace and faithfulness and kindness and goodness. And self-control, all of these are fruit of the Spirit. Now you've got the other side. You've got pain, and you've got anguish, and you've got anxiety, and you've got fear, and you've got lust, and it's really pretty easy to tell the difference between good and
true.
bad, right? And if I ever
True.
have any question, I just ask this question. Since I'm seated in the heavenlies with Christ, I just ask this question: is this here with us here, or is this coming from down here? Like,
Mm,
where is the source of this, what I'm feeling right now? Is it good? And is it wholesome? And is it helpful? And is it moving me in the direction of God likeness? Or is it of the enemy? Is it a lie? Is it a deception? Is it a scheme to pull me down from the heavenlies into the depths of despair? And I would say the enemy's goal for all of us is to get us in a fetal position where we can do nobody any good. Mm-hmm. God's position for us is total freedom, where we're walking through life with joy, with energy, with peace, with love. And we're not only experiencing it ourselves, but we're sharing it with other people. So I think that it goes back again to who is God? Is he truly love? Because if he's truly a good God, which he says he is the ultimate good, that he's really the definition of good, then why wouldn't I just, with my identity, fully trust him that when he created me for good. He created me good. Not that I always do good. I sometimes choose to not do good. But the real me, the real amethyst inside of this rock wall that other people maybe see, the real amethyst that God sees, that's the real me. And that's the one that we should be focusing on, is developing that and asking for more freedom in that.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Romans chapter 7, where that famous chapter where Paul is struggling with his own sin. And he's saying, the things that I hate, I find myself doing. And a lot of people read that and say, yeah, you see, we're bad to the core. And I would say, no, because he follows it up with, but I know it's not the real me. It's sin living in me. It's not me anymore. That's not my heart's desire. I find myself doing it once in a while because my flesh is weak, but that's not who I am. The sin is not his identifying characteristic, and it's not ours either. I think this is pretty cool. And one of the points I wanted to make was, when it comes to our thought lives, if we're trying to discern whether or not this thought is from God or it's from us or from the enemy, take that thought and follow it through to its natural conclusion.
Absolutely.
Where's that path going to lead you? And that will often illuminate whether or not that's one of those thoughts that needs to be rejected or not. 2 Corinthians 10:5, we're to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. In other words, pursuing righteousness. When something's not going to lead us down that road of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, we need to just reject it and say, no, that's not the real me. Even though I had that thought, I'm not going to dwell on it. So
that's the power. That's the power that we have, is we have the power to choose. We have the power to say yes or no. And when lies and deception and when evil comes at us, I oftentimes when I'm praying with somebody, I say, just ask God what he wants you to know right now. Just ask God. And if they can't hear God, I say, okay, there's something blocking that right now. Some lie or something's there blocking that right now. Do you want to keep that, or do you want to hear from God? And mostly they'll say, well, I want to hear from God. And then we'll just say, whatever that is right there, just out right now. You cannot stay. We've seen you here. Right. You cannot say you must go. Whatever lie that is, or demon, or whatever it is, you have to go. And that's the authority we have on this side of the cross, which is just such a huge gift. And we have to actually take advantage of that.
Amen. Yeah. I love it. Well, we're running out of time here, but I want to ask you one more question.
Sure.
What do you know today, Marnie, that you didn't know 25 years ago and you wish you did?
Oh my goodness. How about if I just go, something I know today that I didn't know 2 days ago? Let's go with that one. How about that?
Okay. All right.
No, our walk with God should always be fresh and changing. I heard somebody say the other day, I was listening to a talk online, and I heard somebody say, that woman, when she came to Jesus and she had that issue of blood, and she came to Jesus and he healed her. He said, now put yourself in that story. Do you more relate to the woman who touched Jesus or to Jesus? And I was like, yeah, probably more the lady that touched Jesus, right? And he said, no. He said, Christ in you, the hope of glory. You have Christ in you. Christ is in you. You're supposed to be relating to Christ, not to the woman who is going to, if I'm reaching out here somewhere for something that's already here inside of me, what am I doing? So that's what I just learned in the last couple of days that I wish I would have known earlier. But it's all a journey. It's all a process. And like falling in love with anyone, you just learn more and more about them as you go. And it's a beautiful explorative process.
I like it. So when we're living that way with Christ living in us, we're going to be more selfless. We're going to be more giving. We're going to be more generous and compassionate and empathetic and all that, because that's what he was. That's what he exuded every day of his life.
And that's what we're supposed to be. We're just supposed to be this flow through vessel where he's just always flowing through us. It's not me producing good stuff. It's him flowing through.
Yeah. All right, Marnie, if someone wants to get a copy of your book, where can they do that?
Yeah, just over at Marnie.com, MARNIE.com. If you register over there, you can access all of this that we've been talking about for free, the Mission Vision training, the Flow Through Vessel book. I've got a bunch of great resources and training over there, and it's all free, the resources that are there. So just log in and have a tour around. Welcome.
Excellent. And I'll put links to all that in the show notes as well. Marnie, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom
David,
today.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much. Such a joy. Had a fun time.
Likewise. For more, go to the show notes page at christianhealthylifestyle.com/153. There you can find links to all the resources that we mentioned in audio, as well as a video version of the podcast, a full transcript, and a whole lot more. And don't forget, I need your help creating some episodes. I'm looking for people to come on the show with me and do a lifestyle audit. You tell me what your pain point is, and I'll give you my feedback and get you one step closer to experiencing all the health and vitality you're capable of. There's no charge for this. I enjoy interacting with the Natural Nation. It won't be live, so no pressure there. And an added bonus is you'll get a behind-the-scenes look at the Christian Healthy Lifestyle Studio. For a limited time, I'll send you a copy of my book, The Christian's Guide to Holistic Health, as a thank you. Go to my website, christianhealthylifestyle.com/audit, answer a few questions, and you'll be good to go. I look forward to hearing from you. And be sure to tune in to the next episode. I'm going to be doing a solo episode. I'm going to be talking about the spiritual component of health and what that's all about. So you don't want to miss that one. And remember, we're going to be posting episodes from this point forward once a week. So every Wednesday, look for a new episode to drop. That's it for now. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. I'll talk with you next time. Be blessed.